Welcome to another video, another week, another video. So on this one I am starting very quickly using mostly assets from this add-on called Materialic. It's from the same guys that do the Polygonic. Polygonic is the developer. They are the guys that create Botanic and Aquatic. This add-on is called Traffic. That's with a Q at the end. So for now I'm creating a plane and I am just like subdividing it so I can create with geometry nodes an instance on points, so I can like scatter some light poles. I've added the main car that I wanted to focus on, the one that I'm going to instance and duplicate later, but for now the setup is very simple. So just plug in the collection of the lamp into the instance on points, and then just like join the geometry. You can then control the scale using the random value, because at the beginning I thought I wanted like to rotate or something, but this is like a man-made environment, so it wouldn't make sense to have different sizes of poles. So for the cars, I am just like duplicating and instancing them, placing them manually, no need to scatter them or anything. This way I have like more control on where I want some things, and mostly just a performance thing. So I wanted to add a main warm light to really be the focus of this image. This is like some kind of sci-fi magic image. And for the poles, for the lamps, I added 4 area lights, and then just added those to the collection that I am instancing using the geometry nodes, so they appear automatically on all the instances, and it's a pretty cool look seeing it from the top view. So then I created a big box that I plugged in a volume scatter material so I can add some fog. And the main idea is just to play a little bit with the scattering effect. I just turn it up to 0.5. I think that's the best setting in my opinion. And now I am creating a new material. So I wanted to add some interesting thing going on the ground. So I decided to add some puddles, as if it just like rained a few months ago, and that's why there's like so much fog in the environment. So to do that, I again created 2 different materials using the principal BSEF, added some textures like from Polyhaven, and then I just created like a reflective plane, and I am merging them with a mixed shader node, and then I am using a noise texture to mask the puddles. So at this point I am almost like done with the main scene. I'm happy with the environment, so I'm just creating a few more interesting points in the scene. For that I am using the same add-on, Traffic. This is not a sponsor video, but if you want to sponsor me, call me Polygonic. So yeah, I also use like some assets from all over the internet, some from Kitbash, Big, Medium, Small, Blender Swap, and Google SketchUp 3D Warehouse, is it called? Some of them I have used previously on other projects, so I just already have them on the asset browser, and made it so much easier just to drag and drop them, and build the scene very quickly. So I want to create this scene that had some storytelling to it. The environment by itself was already kind of interesting, but it lacked some story, some storytelling, some narrative, something that was going on. So an easy way to create storytelling is just to add a couple of characters. If you add one single character, you get some kind of story, but you should get a more interesting story if you add 2 characters or more, because then the brain of the viewer creates a story between them, a relationship between them. So I added a couple of astronauts in there, as if they like are exploring this abandoned planet, or they're exploring any planet that just happened to look like an abandoned parking lot on Earth. So yeah, I thought that was like an interesting thing, and it's also like something very easy to do, and it comes out very interesting. It's something that has been replicated in CG quite a lot in the last few years. I think one of the most interesting renders is this one by, God, I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm just gonna place it here in text. But yeah, it's this render of like an astronaut in the middle of a parking lot trying to call from a phone, from a payphone. And probably the main inspiration for this image comes from that, but I wanted to give it a little twist. So in Photoshop, I'm just doing like pretty simple post-processing adjustments, like adding some textures to make the fog look more interesting. That was like the watercolor paper texture. And then create like a little bit more of depth, creating like some floating particles. And now I wanted to add more interest to the main warm light, which is our focus point. So yeah, I added like some embers, some lens flares to really draw the attention to that car. That's our main car, and I am using like a gradient map to really color the lens flares and match it to the warm tones that I had previously, and then just like placing different lens flares all around the light sources, just to make the image a bit more interesting here and there. In the end, I use them at a very low opacity, but it really adds some color variation on the lights, and it gives a more atmospheric sense. So now I'm just adding some more vignette and bringing out some darks and lights using overlay, and finally some grain texture using a noise texture on a gray background, which is basically, by now you must understand my process is very straightforward. So it's Blender, Photoshop, textures, and then color grading, some noise, some chromatic aberration, and done. That's pretty much how my workflow goes for all of these images. It's quite effective, something that I've gotten used to, and it works in my opinion. Color grading maybe not the cup of tea of everyone, but it's the hues that I usually tend to go to, which is like darks and blues, orange and teal, and yeah, some final value adjustments, and pretty much done. And yeah, leave a comment. I usually hang out in the comments for the first half an hour after I post, and see you on the next one. Cheers.